4x4 Club Challenge is brought to you by Bridgestone South Africa. This is round 9 of the Bridgestone 4x4 Club Challenge, and it's the turn of the Land Rover clan to battle it out for a spot in the challenge finals. Based at the Leeuwenkloof complex west of Pretoria, the event saw an interesting assortment of landies line up for the start. This Series 1 was just there for the occasion, but the rest of the field ranged from a brand new Discovery 4 TD V6 to older discos, as well as a conglomerate of defenders of all shapes and sizes. With the stickering done, it was time for scrutineering and well, most interesting underbody check. Toyota fans would probably say that they're checking for oil leaks, but that would be silly, because as any Land Rover owner will tell you, if it isn't leaking oil somewhere, there must be something terribly wrong with the Landy. Anyway, after a safety briefing, it was finally time to get 4x4-ish. This is the Land Rover Owners Club event, and as you would expect, the Landy guys do it slightly differently. This is Obstacle 1. Well, sort of. It's more like Part 1 of Obstacle 1. The Landy Club uses a different scoring method, so they have Gate 1, 2, 3 and so on. Make it through Gate 1 without any penalties and you get X amount of points. Gate 2 earns you more points, and ditto with Gate 3. So it's exactly the same as the Bridgestone scoring system, but completely different. Anyway, here are our first customers of the day. It's Malcolm Timberlake and Andre Toulson in a Discovery 2 TD5. And with a wheel in the air, they get through this section quite brilliantly. This is Joe Gordon and Ann Irons in a Defender 90 pickup, armed with a TD5 motor. The Defender only has a center diff lock, so Joe will have to get his momentum and line spot on here. But oh dear, he connects a pole, and then the Landy comes to a grinding halt. Joe was just a whisker too slow there, and maybe not quite on the ideal line. He takes another run at it, this time with a little bit more right foot application, and makes it up.
Wrong line, but okay, yeah.
Here's another Discovery 2 TD5, and this one is piloted by Richard Hulsbos and Andre Oberholster. The Disco 2 is fitted with a fancy off-road traction control system, so let's see how it works out. It works out quite lucratively. So how was that?
It was a bit of an adrenaline rush, but it was good.
We ride with Richard and Andre to the next series of gates, which we'll call Obstacle 1B. As Richard demonstrates here, the Landies have to negotiate a narrow gate. Oops, they touched one pole already. Now they have to amble up a slight incline and touch only the first of two closely spaced poles with the Disco's front bumper. And oh no, that was too much, and they take out both poles, resulting in more penalties. Now all that's left is a casual climb, but there are a few narrow gates waiting in ambush. And oh no, they lose more points after touching another pole. So this test didn't go quite as well for the Discovery team. Henny and Madeleine Stain are next up in their burly, beautiful sounding Range Rover V8. Henny lines up the classic 4x4 and gets through the first gate without any penalties. Now it's time for that deft touch. In the world of Land Rover competitions, competitors are allowed to stop without incurring penalties. So Henny stalks that pole, slowly but surely. And he does a brilliant job, gently nudging the pole to score full marks. Now all that remains is the last climb. And ach nee man, and here's our first 110 station wagon of the day. This one belongs to Albert and Ian Lammers. Unfortunately, it doesn't start very well for the Defender team, as Albert comprehensively takes out one pole. Now for the delicate touch. Oh no, that also didn't end up very delicately. Albert seems to be wearing very heavy shoes, especially the one on the right foot. The Landy makes it up through that first gate, but oh dear, now there's a tree in the way. Albert reverses the Landy and by Jove, he makes it through without killing any poles.
Kom 'n bietjie links, kom 'n bietjie, okay, net so. Hou reguit, reguit.
Time to head to the shops. When we return, the action at the Leeuwenkloof 4x4 facility hots up as the obstacles get bigger and fuses shorter. Welcome back to round 9 of the Bridgestone 4x4 Club Challenge. This is what we call Obstacle 1C, which is technically still part of Obstacle 1, but that is also not part of it at all. Anyway, we ride with Albert and Ian Lammers again, as they start down the slippery, rocky slope. Here, the teams have to drive down the decline over the rocks. Then they have to reverse and gently nudge another one of those poles that only require a gentle nudge to score points. Oh dear, they've already touched a pole before the reverse. Albert manages to get into that parking area, but with the Defender's turning circle only slightly better than that of an aircraft carrier, the team has to aim very, very carefully.
Kom nog links. Okay, draai dat. Hij gaat springen.
Oh dearie me, that's another pole dead. It doesn't seem as if Albert's having a particularly successful outing so far.
Kijk, kom nog links. Maar je moet niet te naby nie, want hy gooi die body daai kant toe.
This is a Discovery 3 TD V6, piloted by Marius Dreyer and Anel Gerber. Marius is a seasoned Bridgestone 4x4 competitor, and as you can see, he knows his stuff on the descent. But now it's that tricky reverse business, and Anel hops out to guide Marius. He takes the penalties for lining up the Landy in a more appropriate fashion, and then starts. Wait, Marius! Rock! Big rock! Ouch! That sounded expensive. Now to just touch that pole. After that rocky experience, Marius seems intent on breaking the world downhill speed record, and sadly, he kills 2 more poles in the process.
Is 2.52, nee?
Our next customer is Adriaan Oukamp and his red Range Rover Classic, known as Rachel. Gerrit van Wyk is in the co-driver's seat. Before we continue with the action though, just a bit of history. In last year's final Bridgestone event, Adriaan and Gerrit started the competition as the overall points leaders. On the day, it was former champion Johan Marks who took the crown in his Mercedes Gelanderwagen. But Adriaan and Gerrit clearly understand this 4x4 business. But now Adriaan has thrown himself a curveball. Just weeks before this event, he crashed a motorbike and broke his leg in several places. So Hop Along Adriaan can still drive his Range Rover with its automatic gearbox, but would he be able to work through the pain? So now you know about the challenges that Adriaan and Gerrit are facing, let's see how they go. The descent is easily dispatched, and Gerrit hops out to direct the reverse exercise. Adriaan uses the handbrake to regulate the speed of the Range Rover, and he does it quite successfully. Now just for the descent. They're doing really well, crutches and all, but oh dear. Adriaan also kills that one pole dead. But that looks to be a very good effort. Welcome to a completely new obstacle. This is Obstacle 2. And here the drivers literally have to take their cars for a walk. Yep, some say that you should buy a puppy when you buy a Land Rover, so that you don't feel so lonely when you have to walk home. In reality though, Landy owners don't seem to give a hoot about puppies. They just take their own Landy for a walk. This is Joe Gordon and Ann Irons again, in that shorty Defender Bucky. So what happens here is that the competitors have to select first gear, low range, then hop out of the 4x4 and walk next to it, steering it through several gates. Luckily, the Defender's ratios are very, very low, so Joe can spend more time concentrating on the steering and missing those poles rather than running after his vehicle. My word, this is so exciting, I can hardly contain myself. I'm a rhinestone cowboy. Oh, sorry, drifted away a bit there. So that's 100 points for Joe and Ann. Well done. Okay, so time for a break. When we return, the action hots up considerably at Obstacle 3, where the going gets frightfully tough for most of the competitors. This is Obstacle 3, and in relative terms to the Land Rover Owners Club, it's the mother of all 4x4 obstacles. Yep, even Chuck Norris would have to drink half a Brave pill if he had to tackle this steep, rocky, and extremely slippery climb. Our first customers are Mike Eager in the driver's seat and Mike Palmer in the passenger seat. The beautiful sounding Range Rover V8 climbs and climbs and, oh no, it stopped at a very precarious angle. And the marshal isn't happy about something.
No, it's coming out of the tank. It's okay.
Is that safe?
Yep.
Right, so this Range Rover prefers to mark its territory with petrol and not oil. Anyway, the Rangy gets going at a very uncomfortable angle, killing a few poles dead in the process. But it's up. Now just another tight gate to negotiate.
Come, okay, we're right here. Think about your back axle there, Mike. Well, you can't, you've got to watch that.
I can't, this is so tight.
Oh well, they've made it through this obstacle, unlike some other teams. In the cabin, Mike was singing Mike's praises.
Hey, you did. This is the oldest vehicle here, just about. You had just the right speed, right gear.
I'm a genius, is that what you say?
I would put you in that category.
This is Frederica de Micheli and her co-driver Shirley Moss. Frederica is clearly not intimidated by a little hill with a few loose rocks.
27. You see, they've removed the poles on this one.
Yes, I see.
Good. Nice. Whoop. Okay, hold down, don't worry. Don't worry, we've only had one contact. Excellent. Excellent. Well done!
That was interesting.
Fantastic.
Keep going.
That puts you on a high.
It was fantastic. Lots of adrenaline and lots of screaming, but it was good. I think we achieved. We were happy.
Next is the V8-powered Land Rover Discovery of Leon Fourie and Vickers Tromp. With a whole lot of horses under the bonnet, the Landy makes good headway up the hill. At the last gates though, the disco takes out a whole troop of the poor Poles. This obstacle is taking some toll, it seems. Here's another Discovery too, and this one is a TD5. Armand van Zyl is hanging onto the steering wheel, and Michael Negrini is, well, he appears to be filming or photographing the action from a passenger eye view. The Landy slides out on the loose rocks, on the corner though, and Armand has to reverse to get the disco back on track. With Michael doing his best Steven Spielberg impersonation, the Land Rover climbs and climbs. And it finally makes it to the crest in one piece. Well done. The father and son Erasmus team are also in a Discovery V8, but oh dear, it doesn't take long before it goes a bit pear-shaped. That tricky, slippery corner is catching out the teams big time. Peter reverses and tries again, but no go. He's one reverse option left, otherwise he has to back out of the obstacle and lose any chance of scoring points. Right, so it's now or never, and Peter lets the big V8 engine do the talking. And off she goes. Up, up and away! The disco takes out just about every pole at the crest, but hey, they're up. Make no mistake, this obstacle is getting a whole lot of tricky. And here's another defender, and it's a 110 TD5. It's crewed by Dion and Susan Kriek, and it's their very first 4x4 competition. Like ever. The Landy starts off okay, but then Dion is quite far off the track there, and that's not a good gradient for a top-heavy-ish Land Rover Defender to be at. Oh no, and there slides the Landy. Dion catches it just in time and tries to get it back in line. No wonder Susan is looking a bit worried. It's clearly reached a safety-critical point now, and the marshals step in to save the day. That sounds pretty easy, but as it turns out, it would be quite a process to get that Landy out of its predicament. First, a Toyota Hilux and lots of ropes, as well as a snatch block, are used to try and get the Landy up the hill, or at the very least back on track. The Landy slides again, and this time its roof rack connects a tree. This is turning into a heck of a thing. After another Toyota Hilux unsuccessfully tries to winch the stranded Landy up the slope, the marshals call in the big guns. A Land Cruiser 80 series with a heavy-duty winch mounted in the front bull bar. And finally, after a full hour, the Landy's finally out of the obstacle. However, because of the difficulty and danger level, and with a few more novices still left to run this gauntlet, the clerk of the course decides to pull the plug, and rather close it down. Safety is simply a non-negotiable factor of the Bridgestone 4x4 Club Challenge, as the Marshal explains.
Chief Marshal and clerk of the course decided to close obstacle number 3. It's getting too dangerous. We've had several vehicles stuck here. We had to do a recovery now that took us just a little over an hour to do. It's not worth risking the obstacle staying open.
And with that, it's the end of the Land Rover Owners Club's outing. And it's time to compare notes, discuss new oil leaks, inspect some of the prizes, and talk about that Obstacle 3 business. But wait! Before we get to the results, let's remind you quickly what the top teams in this competition can win. The 3 podium finishers respectively get a R10,000 gift voucher from Bridgestone, a set of Light 4 spotlights from Opposite Lock, and a hand winch, also courtesy of Opposite Lock. An environmental prize to the value of R2,000 goes to the most environmentally friendly team. The overall winner of the challenge will drive off with a Conqueror off-road trailer to the value of R50,000, while the runners-up will receive a fully adjustable Tough Dog suspension worth R20,000 from Opposite Lock. Right, so without further ado, let's get down to business. In third place, and winning a hand winch from Opposite Lock and a spot in the 2013 Bridgestone 4x4 Club Challenge final were Defender crew Warren Voss and Storm Alston. In second place, amazingly, were Hopalong Adriaan Oukamp and Gerrit van Wyk in Rachel, the red Range Rover. Thank goodness for that automatic gearbox. That means that Adriaan and Gerrit are also through to the final round, and they win a set of Light 4 spotlights. But the winners of this round, and winning a R10,000 tyre voucher from Bridgestone, were Alex van der Horst and Adriaan Smit in a very standard Land Rover Defender 90. Well done, lads. Next week, we join the Off-Road Adventure Club for a round of Regularity Raid. Here, the teams have to navigate themselves all over the show and complete several 4x4 tests and tasks along the way. All we can say is that an entirely new language is born. Some competitors get so lost they end up 100 kilometers from where they should be, and one crew makes the timed cutoff with mere seconds to spare. Don't miss it. The 4x4 Club Challenge was brought to you by Bridgestone. Your journey, our passion.